£2,500. It will be funded by government borrowing. Richard Lane from the debt advice charity Step Change in Leeds says urgent help is needed.
People are already struggling, so Step Change is a charity that's existed for nearly 30 years, and for the first time in our history, we get referrals from lots of organisations. They're normally banks. The 4 biggest organisations referring customers to us now are energy companies.
Well, as well as households, businesses are also expected to get some help. Stephen Hay runs a pub in Cleckheaton and says he'd need to charge £32 a pint to make a profit at the rate bills are going up.
My utility bills, including rates, would be somewhere in the region of £125,000 a year. So if you looked at it from that point of view, then the price of a pint wouldn't be £16, it would be £32.
2 men charged with murdering a man near Wakefield are due in court again later. Tony Steele was found dead at a house in Ossett on Friday night. Christopher Donaldson, who's 44, and 38-year-old Anthony Sladek are due to appear at Leeds Crown Court this morning. Police in West Yorkshire say reports of violence against women and girls have increased by around 15% in the last year. It comes as police and crime commissioners across the country say more needs to be done to make sure that investigating these crimes is a priority. Police here say more victims are now coming forward. Detective Superintendent Lee Berry says they've increased investment in this area over the last year.
A significant uplift in our investigative resources. So we've got more detectives and more detective sergeants now that are investigating these crimes. We're also looking at working with partners, because this is not just about policing tackling this problem.
Police in Canada say the second of 2 brothers accused of a series of mass stabbings on Sunday has died in police custody. Miles Sanderson was arrested over the killing of 10 people after spending 4 days on the run. His brother Damien was found dead on Monday. The charity Help for Heroes, which helps wounded service personnel, set up a course to help tattoo artists and hairdressers spot veterans who might be suicidal. Aaron Bailey, a tattoo artist who spent 22 years in the armed forces, explains why this approach can work.
When we're here, it's so easy to talk, and you can just vent. It's a safe space. It really is, and we all understand the dark humour, sarcasm. And when you can speak to someone on the same level as you tend to want to gravitate towards that.
A malaria vaccine with world-changing potential has been developed by scientists at the University of Oxford. The team expects it to be rolled out next year after trials showed up to 80% protection against the deadly disease. Leeds Rhinos sends Harry Newman will go through some tests later to see if he's fit enough to face Catalan Dragons tomorrow night. He's missed the last 4 games through injury. And Yorkshire had a tough task to rescue the Roses clash with Lancashire in the County Championship at Old Trafford today. The hosts resumed their second innings on 203 for 3 with a lead of 224 runs. And lead cyclist Tom Pidcock was denied a stage victory in his home county following a photo finish at the Tour of Britain yesterday. Cloudy with some heavy showers at times, highs of 20 Celsius. It's 3 minutes past 8. For an update anytime, ask your smart speaker to play BBC News for Leeds.
Cap, which was due to rise to 3,500 next month. That's for an average house, the cap. You know how these things work, the leaks and the briefings and things like that. It might not be right, but nearly every single newspaper is running with that headline this morning. It's still unclear though what support businesses could get. They don't have a cap, businesses. Have a listen to one pub landlord from Kirklees Council area, Stephen Hay. He's been running the Wickham Arms in Cleckheaton for 32 years, and he's been telling Jericho Keys how hard they're finding it.
Horrendous. A price rise for our electricity bill of £1,000 a month to £4,400 a month. So that's how difficult it is. And if Liz Truss doesn't do something now, then we will all go to the wall. And that's our problem. The future of this industry and the fish and chip industry and anything which deals in power and refrigeration, they will just go under. And they will gradually go under as contracts come due. So if they don't fix some kind of 10% or 20% rise now, then I'm afraid we'll all go under. I have told people I employ, they will be destitute, obviously. I'm quite frankly fed up of being frightened every hour of the day. Now, what needs to be done at the moment is to actually freeze the prices at 10% or 20% above what they were 12 months ago.
How realistic is it that the price of a pint of beer could go up to 16 to 20 pounds?
I worked it out in my gas bill and my electricity bill were due this year. My utility bills, plus including rates, will be somewhere in the region of £125,000 a year. So if you looked at it from that point of view, then the price of a pint wouldn't be £16, it would be £32. Because I'm paying over £2,000 a week just for power. And that has to be profit. It's not turnover, it's profit. Then how do we find it? We can't find it. Absolutely impossible situation, really. Unless they listen to us, do something about both domestic and small businesses, then they'll lose all of us. That's it.
Stephen Hay from the Wickham Arms in Cleckheaton there. Some breathtaking numbers, really, talking about to Jericho. These measures coming in then, I think another debate people are having is, are they arriving in the nick of time, or are they coming too late? Because the energy bills have been going up for some time. Well, earlier on the programme, we heard from Richard Lane, a director at the Leeds-based debt advice charity, Step Change.
Well, I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that people
Well,
are
you're just
desperate
as
to
corrupt
find
as
out
all the
what
others, you
is
fuckers.
available.
You favour the master corporation.
Step Change is a charity that's existed for nearly 30 years. For the first time in our history, we get referrals from lots of organisations. They're normally banks. The four biggest organisations referring customers to us now are energy companies, because that is, people are already falling behind on their energy bills before we've seen any further price rises. So the situation is pretty dire for people already.
Have you ever experienced a time where so many people have pinned their hopes on government policies before?
People are really desperate for the announcements, and it sounds like we're going to get some pretty big, bold measures from the government, which is really welcome. They need to address the scale of the challenge that the country faces. And I think we're speaking to people who can't remember anything like this in their lifetime, where they're seeing such staggering and eye-watering price rises. So people are really putting their hopes on government to kind of step in and not just step in because they're waiting for a little bit of support, step in to stop them from being destitute this winter ultimately.
I know we're not going to speculate this morning, that wouldn't be right, and it wouldn't be right for me to ask you, but that number, £2,500, would that be low enough? I mean, that's still a big jump from 900 that you mentioned earlier in the year, isn't it? Would that be enough to sort of help a lot? It wouldn't help everyone, but would it help a lot of people?
It will help lots of people, and we really welcome that. Let's be clear, that is going to be an enormous government intervention that's going to cost billions of pounds, so that's really welcome. So for us, it's not really necessarily just about that headline figure of, is it £2,500, is it 2,000? The reality is that we know that there are lots of people already struggling, and £2,500 is higher than where the amount is currently. So whilst that is going to be really welcome, we are going to be calling on government to continue to do more in quite a targeted way, particularly to low-income households who rely on things like universal credit, because we know that even before further price rises, they're currently struggling, and whilst that will be a relief to lots of people, it's not going to be enough, unfortunately.
Richard Lane from Step Change on BBC Radio Leeds. Let's get another opinion on this. Let's speak to Michaela Biscombe. Michaela is based in Kippax. Just tell you a little bit about her. She's got a husband. She works full time. She's also a parish councillor in the area as well. Good morning.
Morning.
Just firstly, because we're going to sort of touch on your role as a parish councillor in a moment, but just as the woman on the street, for want of a better expression. I'm sorry to say that, I do apologize, but you know what I mean. Just talk to us in those terms about what you're feeling like about this specific issue at the moment.
So for me personally, I am in probably a very fortunate position. As you mentioned, I'm married. We don't have any children yet, so we don't have that responsibility and dependencies. And we both work full time with jobs that are, fairly well paid. So we're not in a position where we're having to make those really tough choices. But in our personal circle, we have friends and family who, for example, are on maternity leave at the moment. They're having to cut that short. They're about to go on maternity leave, and they're already planning to cut it short because the plans that they made to support their new families they're not viable now because the bills have just spiraled out of control. So we know we're very fortunate, but there's lots of people around us that are not so fortunate.
How many people, friends, neighbours, again, before we sort of get onto the councillor part of this, are talking about it? Is it really sort of like the main conversation that you're having with people at the moment?
I think it is the main conversation, both in a very serious way around things like maternity leave, things like jobs, but also in every kind of social aspect. Every time you try and plan anything pleasant or nice or just something that gives you a nice quality of life, it comes with it, can we cut that down, can we cancel those plans, can we change something? So it affects kind of the real serious stuff, and then all the bits that bring you joy and make you have a nice quality of life. It bleeds into all those conversations as well.
Right, let's speak to Michaela, parish councillor then. But when you're a parish councillor, does that mean you're sort of aligned to a political party, or is it more just on local issues?
So for me personally, no, we're a neutral parish council, so we don't stand for certain parties, so that means we can really represent our local community, which is nice.
And as a parish councillor, do you get asked for assistance with things like this? Are people coming to you and saying, what can I do?
Yeah, we during the COVID pandemic, we ran a food bank, so we support a lot of local people with the food bank, and we are trying to understand more about what powers we have as parish councils. We get funding in through council tax, so we need to understand what powers we have and what legal responsibilities we have to be able to support people, because they're much limited compared to kind of obviously national powers. So yeah, people often come to us for help, and we just need to find a way that we can legally provide that help for people.
Do you think it's sort of a misunderstood level of democracy in a way?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we are quite limited, but then in some ways we can be very resourceful and creative and find ways to support people. And it might not be, we don't have the power to cap bill prices, but we might be able to support in different ways, whether it is through food banks or share schemes or things like that, where we can help to buffer the surrounding problems. But yeah, we're really limited with the big things we can do.
Always sounds a big commitment, something like this to me. You're obviously very passionate about your local area and the people who live around you.
Yeah, it is a big commitment, and for most parish councils it's a completely unpaid role. It's an elected role, but it's unpaid. So for my parish council, for example, a lot of us spend a lot of hours and hours every week in meetings trying to deliver projects, trying to improve the area. So yeah, it is a big commitment.
How long have you done it?
About 4 years. About 4 years, and I was awarded Young Council of the Year actually this year nationally for the food bank and some of the work we've done. So yeah.
I ask you this because a little bird has told me that you're particularly passionate about bringing young people into this level of politics. What age were you when you sort of got involved in it?
It's about 4 years, so I'm 29 now, so 24, 25 when I joined the council.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people associate 20-somethings with being on councils?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think the headlines last year from Jackie Weaver and Co. Did as much favours either. But yeah, no, it's good for young people to get involved. I really encourage everyone to get involved, because it's we work on some things that are really complicated and things like the food bank, but also we get to do fun things like put new parks in and play areas, so it can be really diverse. So yeah.
And just finally, Michaela, and back to the main reason we're talking to you, the energy bills and what would you say to not just the good folk of Kippax, but anywhere else in West Yorkshire? You can speak to your parish councillors, you can speak to people, and do that if you are feeling a bit worried about this.
Yeah, come to us, and most importantly, if you've got any ideas where people